Well, heck, let's get into it, bro. Why not?
Yeah,
Steak talk, bro.
let's get up there somewhere.
Yeah, let's do it. I don't know,
So,
it's a little,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
But okay, so favorite food.
Steak.
All right, so bear with me here because this is going to be a little bit of a drawn out
How do you like your
thing.
steak cooked, by the way?
Medium rare.
Nice.
How
You
about
don't
you?
like blood?
Medium rare does have blood.
But like I'm talking like blood.
I would prefer it not just completely like still mooing, you know.
Okay. That's fair.
But like,
Yeah.
I want a good solid like. I'll eat a rare steak, but it's not how I would prefer it. It's not how I would
Okay.
usually do it.
Yeah.
Why? What about you? Rare?
Medium rare. Yeah.
Oh, well, you said the same thing. Why are you questioning mine?
Well, I didn't know if you wanted more blood on yours or something.
I think meat it for a burger though.
Ooh. Medium rare.
Really? I'd go medium for burgers.
You don't like pink in a burger?
Well, that's medium. There's a lot of pink. Medium well is pink. Medium is like a lot more pink,
Yeah.
and then medium rare would be reddish.
I like that red.
Yeah, not in a burger for me. But it's like for one, like flavor is a big part of it, but also just kind of in the back of my mind, like the safety thing.
Burger or steak?
If I had to choose, just at all, period,
Yeah.
in general,
Yeah.
probably burger.
Burger?
Yeah.
Over a steak?
I'm not in love with steaks. I don't mind them. They're good. Occasionally I'll have a steak, you know, but it's very rare that I'll actually eat a steak.
Hmm.
Very, very rare.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. But steak's your favorite food, though. Well, you know about the whole thing about why burgers are not safe, though, right?
Yeah,
As opposed to steaks.
kind of.
On a steak, it's perfectly safe to eat a rare
Yeah.
steak. All you have to do is sear the outside because all the fibers of the meat, everything's still intact the way it was came from the cow. So all the bacteria is on the outside,
How do you know
like
this?
of the cut of steak. I worked in restaurants for a long time. But if you take a cut of steak, you know, it's straight from the cow, cut like that, the way it was butchered, all the bacteria will grow on the outside where it's, you know, contacting the air and such. All you have to do to cleanse the bacteria, to kill all the bacteria, is just sear the outside of the steak. So then it's perfectly fine to eat it rare as long as the outside's seared. With a burger, everything is ground up, so all that bacteria that was on the outside gets ground up and mixed in the middle, which is why it's technically not technically safe to eat burgers unless they're well done. But I mean, that's no fun. Got to live on the dangerous side a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
But steak, so that's your favorite food, period.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're religious,
Yes.
and you believe in heaven and hell,
Yes.
and you think you're going to heaven for eternity, right?
I'd love to. Yeah.
Okay, so if you could only eat steak and nothing else, how long do you think it would take before you did not love steak as much, before it wasn't your favorite food anymore? Maybe not dislike it, but just it's no longer the favorite.
Probably like, honestly, probably like a month.
So 3 meals a day, nothing but steak,
About a month.
about 90 meals with nothing but steak before you're,
Ooh, 90. Wow.
yeah, 3 meals a
Yeah.
day. That's all you eat is steak.
Half a month. Like 2
So a
weeks.
couple weeks.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's no longer your favorite food.
Yeah. Because I'd just get sick of it. I would assume.
Okay. But that's just, it's no longer, you're not going to hate it, right?
No.
It's just no longer your favorite.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I'd get sick of it. Yeah.
So we can extrapolate this, right? So after 2 weeks, it's no longer your favorite.
Yeah.
Realistically, after what, a month, maybe 6 weeks before you really don't like it anymore?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's take your next two favorite foods.
Okay.
What's that?
Probably hot wings.
Hot wings? Okay.
And I love a mean taco.
Mean taco. All right.
Not a nice one.
That's
A
the best,
mean
yeah, the
one.
best kind of tacos.
Yeah.
All right. So let's throw those into the mix. So you've got 3 meals a day, taco, steak, and hot wings.
But you know the fascinating thing about tacos?
Hmm.
You can put anything in a taco, like a steak taco.
That's true. That's very true. I like tongue, lengua.
What?
Yeah,
You like what?
lengua, tongue.
Tongue?
Yeah, beef tongue. You know, never had it.
No.
It's phenomenal, bro. You gotta try it.
You like eating tongues?
Yeah.
Would you eat a human's tongue if it was cooked?
For the sake of, let's just say no.
Okay, well
I'm not a cannibal.
you'll eat an
That's
animal
like-
tongue, but you
That's
won't.
that's a line though. That's like once you like even cross that line in theory, it's like a weird place. Like I'm not a cannibal. We'll go no.
Okay.
Would I mean you suck on a tongue though?
Like, oh,
Well, you never suck on your girlfriend's tongue.
that's just yeah.
That's a no. Wow.
I mean, I don't just like, I don't just do that. Like, oh, by the way, let's do this. That's weird.
You know, just like give me your tongue.
What, you've sucked a girl's tongue before?
1,000.
Like, you would just like, hey, stick it out
Actually,
for.
that's a wild number. Probably not 1,000, but a lot.
I was gonna say, you should
1,000
probably go
times
see
maybe.
someone.
1,000 times, not 1,000 women.
So you go up to a girl and say, hey, stick out your tongue.
No, obviously it's in the heat of the moment. Like you're making out. Like,
Oh,
you're making out, and like you're like, hey, give me your tongue. You usually don't have to ask, but sometimes you do.
really?
Yeah.
You've had to ask?
No, well, I don't ask. I just say it. Just, give me your tongue. Simple as that.
Okay.
Let's try it sometime. Just suck on their tongue.
That's fascinating.
It's like it's while you're making out. It's not like weird. It's not like you're like across the room and you're like, hey, can I suck on your tongue? No, it's weird. I think we're gonna have to cut this whole segment out. Edit that out.
Why?
Because clearly you don't want to.
Okay.
I can sense you're like pulling back. You're like,
no.
this is too graphic, and maybe it might be. I don't want people on the internet thinking I'm a hoe, because I suck on tongues.
Yeah, 1,000 people.
1,000 times, not 1,000 people. 1,000
You
people
sucked
would be
on
crazy.
tongue 1,000 times?
Probably. I mean, if you count each individual, like say you're making out with somebody, you could suck on their tongue like probably like,
So that means
4 to 9 times within that current session of making out.
so is one session of tongue sucking count as one? Or if you're sucking on it like several times, does that count as more?
You don't just suck on the tongue for like 5 minutes. It's like a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd probably like draw all the blood and give them a hickey on their tongue. That'd be weird. And your tongue muscles would really be uncomfortable for both people after that. But anyways,
Yeah.
back to the steak thing. Okay, so we got steak, tacos, and hot wings, right?
Yeah.
3 meals a day, 1 for each. If you had all those in the mix, then how long do you think it would take before all 3 of those things were no longer your favorites?
3 months.
3 months?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So extrapolate that out. Everything's a number game, right? Like all this can be done mathematically if you really wanted to, but in theory, how long then before you absolutely hated them?
Probably a long time.
Really?
I would think so,
You're
yeah.
eating nothing but steak, hot wings, and
Tacos?
tacos.
Well, the nice thing about tacos, like I said, is you can kind of put anything in it.
Okay, well, let's keep it simple for now. Let's say it's one kind of taco.
Okay, ground beef. Sure.
Okay. So what, maybe a year? 2 years?
2 years, maybe?
2 years, okay.
Yeah, I could live with it for 2 years.
Okay, so everything's a number, right? So everything can be done mathematically. So we can extrapolate anything out to any number, right? So let's forget about there being any sort of limit on time here. Let's say all the foods that you enjoy, that exist, all the foods in existence that you enjoy at all, they're all into this mix.
Mm.
They're all options for you. And then there's a bunch of other foods that you don't enjoy They're not options. Eventually, because we added 3 more foods, what do we get? A few more months, right? Or we added 2 more foods. We started with 1. We were at 2 weeks. We added 2 more foods into the mix. Now we're at 3 months, right? Or you don't enjoy them as much. But instead of a few months, now maybe a year or 2 before you actually hate them,
Yeah.
right? The more foods you add, you will extend that time, right? The more variety you have, you're going to extend that time. But eventually, you're going to run out. Eventually, you're going to get sick of them all, right?
Yeah.
What are you going to do when you get sick of all the foods that you enjoyed?
Try something else.
Try something new, right? Try something that you don't enjoy.
Yeah.
Maybe that you never wanted to try. Something you're like scared to try, right?
Right.
Okay. I don't know that this could be all accomplished within a lifetime because there's just so many foods out there. And are you a picky eater?
No.
Me neither. So like, I just love food.
Yeah.
I'll try new food all the time. So I don't imagine I'll get to a point where I'm like feeling like I'm forced to try things I don't enjoy, but I usually will anyway. If it's something that I think like, I don't think I'll like that, I'll give it a shot, right? Point being though, is that eventually, given enough time, maybe 100 years, maybe 200 years, 1,000 years, eventually, you're going to get to the point where the things that you previously liked, the things that you thought were good, you now think are bad. Your perspective has shifted, and now you're willing, even excited, to try things that you previously might have thought were bad and take a new perspective on them, right?
Mm.
If you got punched in the face every single day, that would suck.
Yeah.
But if you got punched in the face every single day, took one punch in the face, well, even a slap, right? Eventually, it's not going to have the same effect, right? You're not going to mind it. You're going to wake up like, oh, maybe that's an extreme example. Like, let's say like cold plunge. You've done it before, right?
Yeah.
Pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Like pretty like.
Oh yeah, you feel like you can't breathe for like
Right.
that first 30 seconds.
Well, if you do it every day, like I've been doing for a couple months now, eventually it's like I'm stoked to jump in there. I'm excited,
it's
way
like-
more excited than getting in the shower. Like hot shower, I'm like, jumping in the cold plunge though, hell yeah, absolutely. So perspective shifts after a while. You get used to it. Perspective shifts. Things that you do enjoy, you no longer enjoy. You know, in repetition for a while, and vice versa. Okay, so these things we can even conceptualize them within the span of our own perception of time and a human lifetime, right? What if there was no time?
You're saying like no time at all, like non-existent.
You have all of it. Endless eternity. You are in a place where time is forever. There's no point that you will ever see in the distance where it ends. And the only things that you ever experience are good things.
That would be great.
However, everything can be extrapolated. That numbers game that we did with the food, we can do with hobbies. We can do with socializing, with friend groups. We can do with anything that you might ever do to occupy that time. Can all be played into this numbers game. And sure, you might be able to say, I could go 10,000 years like that. You go 100,000 years, 1,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000 years, 1,000,000,000,000 years. But even if you get to that point of 1,000,000,000,000 years, of everything that you ever experience is only good things. That 1,000,000,000 years is not even, it's not even a speck of sand in all of the sands of all the oceans all over the world. It's not even one grain of sand in the face of eternity. 1,000,000,000 years is nothing. That's a blink of an eye when compared to eternity. Eternity is forever, right? How long do you think you can keep extrapolating out only good things, or at least things that you perceive to be good, until you get tired of them all? not only until you get tired of them all. Let's say you could put a number on that, right? Let's say you could put a number and say maybe 100 trillion years, right? Like just for like think about this for a second. Let's say after 100 trillion years, you would potentially not love all of the just this insane amount of possible things that you could do with to occupy your time, right? After 100 trillion years, maybe you wouldn't love them anymore.
Yeah.
You still enjoy them, you're just not stoked about them, right? Well, just a numbers game. You can continue to extrapolate that out. So 100 trillion years, you get to the point where you're like, I'm not in love with all these things anymore. How about another 100 trillion years? How about another? How about another? How about another? Keep going. Eventually, you're going to have to get sick of them, right?
So no matter what you do in life, doesn't matter how long it's for, like you said, it could be forever, you're going to get sick of it because it's just a repeating rinse, repeat, like you're doing the same thing over and over again. That's why change is so important.
Well, I'm saying within at least, yes, that is why change is so important, 100%. I'm saying within the concept of what we perceive to be good, essentially. Going back to the heaven and hell thing here, right?
Yeah.
My point is...
Oh, okay. So you're saying in heaven, you get everything good all the time. But at some point, you're going to get sick of it because it's forever.
Yeah. And eventually, heaven will become hell.
But maybe there's never getting sick of everything. Because what if you don't do everything?
Why wouldn't you do everything?
Maybe you just don't want to. Maybe you want to keep it like a surprise or something.
Okay, so for how long?
As long as you can go, I guess.
Okay, but then again, there's got to be a number there at some point. Just like the steak, just like the tacos, just like the hot wings, you can put a number to it.
So let me ask you this then. You're telling me if you are able to drive your Porsche GT3 RS in heaven with palm trees, you got loads of money, but money probably won't even be an issue in heaven because you already get everything you want. So you get everything you want. Some people might never get sick of it. Maybe that's just something that they will have for, like, they're okay with living forever with. That's what heaven and hell is about.
How long would you enjoy driving a Porsche GT3 RS?
Every day.
Every day. For how long?
Forever.
Forever?
You know what you can
really,
do?
Forever.
You know what you can do with a Porsche, right?
What?
You can make it way faster.
Okay.
Boosting it.
Okay.
But that might not be the only car I'll ever have.
Oh, but that's what we were getting at, right? You said you were going to maybe not try everything, right? So in this theory, we're talking about not trying everything. We're talking about you just have this one car.
But I'm saying I'd still love driving my Porsche every day. Forever.
Potentially. But forever is a long time.
Well, yeah, because it never ends.
Exactly. And your perspective may change, just like your perspective may change on the hot wings or the steak or the tacos.
Is this why you're not religious?
It is not why I'm not religious, but it is a contributing factor to the logic and the science behind why I'm not religious.
This is more black and white. This isn't gray line.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the same concept would apply potentially to hell.
But religion is about black and white.
Well, I beg to differ.
Really?
But if you
wow.
If you were alternatively,
this is a debate.
If you were someone that was just like the being slapped in the face or being going in the cold plunge every day, something that's painful will eventually become enjoyable, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like think about masochism. That's a crazy topic, but there's people that enjoy that. That's weird. That's crazy. I don't understand it, but there's people that do, right? People that get off on that, okay? Clearly, there's people who have that perspective that's different. And if you are exposed or experiencing the same thing long enough, eventually your perspective will shift. Maybe not in the span of a lifetime. Maybe it's difficult to conceptualize that. Maybe it doesn't seem possible. But 2 lifetimes, 100 lifetimes, 1,000 lifetimes, eventually your perspective is going to change.
Yeah. And your perspective may change in heaven.
That's the point I'm making, is that how can that be heaven? Without...
Because you get everything you want.
Without... Yeah, eventually it won't be the things you want.
Because Jesus loves you, and he brings you to his world, right? Like his home. But everything in his world and home is everything you could ever want.
Right. For how long is
For
my point?
eternity.
How long
Forever.
until your perspective changes?
Maybe you're in heaven, your perspective doesn't change because God created you, right? Let's say this. This is funny. God creates heaven, right? He creates human beings. He creates things, everything in this world that we have. He's created it. Obviously not cabinets. A man made that. But if you think about it, he created that too because he created humans to build that, right? Bear with me here. So he made this whole heaven thing to be, you come up the white gates, the white stairs into the heaven gates, and then he says, welcome to heaven. You will have the greatest life for eternity, right? But he made this so you don't get, you don't get sick of having something every day that you want. There's a reason why there is heaven. There's a reason why we believe in it, because we're never going to get sick of it. God makes us believe that we're never going to get sick of something that we love doing every day because it's something that we love doing.
Do you have regrets in life?
Like that I've done?
Anything?
I think I lost my virginity at a very young age.
Funny you say that, because if I did have a regret, that would actually be mine as well.
I lost it when I was 14. I wish I was able to...
Yeah, that's young.
Huh?
That is young.
Well, I was a dumb high schooler, okay? And I wish I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't very religious in high school, like, at all. I wasn't close to God. I did dumb shit. I drank, smoked weed. I did it all. But what I did also do was become the biggest man whore of my school. But that didn't happen until I lost my virginity, obviously. When I was 14, I was very clueless on even what sex was. I had a girl come to my house, and she was like, let's have sex, let's try it. And I was just like, oh my, like, what do I do, when you get in that, like, you have a moment where you're just, like, frozen, and you don't really know how to react. That's how it felt when I lost my virginity, because I was so young. I wasn't even, like, I wasn't even experienced in any of it. I didn't know anything about sex, to be honest. And from that point on, like, I've held that, like, grudge on me my whole life. So, like, that would probably be the only thing I regret in life.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's understandable regret, because, yeah, if I had one, it would also be very similar to that. But the reason I asked, though, is, okay, why do you not have other regrets? We'll start with that first.
Why do I not have other regrets?
Yeah. Why do you not regret? Like, I'm sure there's been plenty of things in your life that have been maybe what you deem to be poor decisions, or you wish you could have done them differently, but, like, for some reason you don't regret them. Why is that?
For being religious like I am, there is a thing called you go into church and you confess, right? That's for people who truly regret things they've done in life, or they know they've sinned. Maybe not necessarily regret, but they're asking God for forgiveness for sinning, for doing something bad. So, like, that would be something I would have confessed for, like losing my virginity, or smoking pot all the time, or drinking all the time, to the point where I get blacked out. But I can't sit here and say I regret anything else in my life, because everything happens for a reason. And I feel like you learn a lot by just doing something maybe you don't even think about doing. It just happens in your life. You're just like, and then you sit there for like 5 minutes after you do it, and you're like, wow, that just happened. And you kind of regret it, but, like, at the same time, you don't, because, like, you did it. There's nothing you can do about it. So what's the point of even regretting it when you can't go back in time? Now, maybe if I went back in time, I still don't even think I would, because I would have never learned from that.
There we go. That's what I'm getting at. So the choices you make in life, even though they might cause pain or momentary suffering or things in your life that you do not enjoy, they all teach you something.
Yeah.
You gain something from that, and it all leads to where you are today.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All like the sum of your experiences or who you are, right?
Yeah.
So
100%.
and with that perspective then, do you feel that the accomplishments and the joys, the true like moments of bliss that you've had in your life, the feeling of uh, reward, do you think that any of that would be nearly as exciting and exhilarating if you did not go through the pain and the suffering to have that different perspective on it?
You know, I've always thought that God set up obstacles for us to go through in life, good or bad. I wonder if it's the same thing in heaven, but we won't know that until we go.
But that would fly in the face of everything that most religions say about heaven, would it not? That would not be all everything is great and groovy and wonderful, would it not?
Well, you would think Earth is supposed to be all great and groovy, but there's war, there's sex trafficking, there's a ton of bad things in this world because this goes way back to Adam and Eve, right? What did they do? They bit the apple that they weren't supposed to bite.
Allegedly.
According to the religion, right?
Yes.
That's
okay.
what happened.
All right.
And ever since, because if he never bit that apple, everything would be perfect. Like there's no sinning. You can walk like they say if they never bit the apple, like I wouldn't see someone and sexualize about them. Like they could be walking around naked, but it's completely normal. Like you don't like nowadays if like you saw that, like you're gonna be like, whoa, put some clothes on, you know, like you're in public. But back then, that like if I'm or not, I shouldn't say back then, but like if they didn't eat the apple, that would never even be discussed. It would just be normal. It'd be like an everyday thing.
Okay.
So I think going back to where it started from, where all of this stuff came from, sinning, non-sinning, you know, good, evil, it all started with the apple, and I guess heaven has something to do with that as well.
Okay, let's go back to what you said about God having these similar obstacles and things for us to experience in heaven.
Yeah.
Like you're considering that's a possibility.
The obstacles that he has here that are up there?
Yes.
Yeah.
In which case,
it could be.
Part of what makes heaven so good and great and wonderful is that we do have the obstacles to give us that perspective. Like we do have some pain and suffering to give us that perspective that makes the reward and the good times so much better.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying?
Because you feel like you've accomplished something.
Okay.
Like people have to work to buy a car.
So if that's the case, how do you know we're not in heaven right now?
Because you die.
Do you? Or does your body die?
Your soul. Well, not your soul.
But soul is eternal, right?
Right.
At least I'm pretty sure the Catholics believe that.
Yeah, soul is like everything, man.
Right, so soul is you, body's not you. Body's just like a vehicle for the soul, right?
Right.
So the body is just how your soul is able to interact in this world, in this plane of existence, right?
I guess I never really like thought too much into that because like when you go to church, you just believe, you do the same prayers every day, you know, because you have to show God like, you know, your beliefs and stuff. You should really come to church with me one day.
Well, I might consider it.
Like, I'm serious. Like
I've spent many years in church.
My priest is awesome, dude.
I can't imagine.
But going back to this topic
again, but
I think the body. Well, obviously the body dies because it decays. Your body, the skin just fades.
And the soul goes somewhere.
Absolutely.
Right, heaven, hell.
Yeah. So are you saying that your body in heaven dies too?
What does it say at the end of a Revelation or somewhere in the Bible where it says your body passes away, you move on, right? You'll be given a new body.
Yeah.
right?
It's
You go
kind of
into
like
the new heaven,
resurrection.
the new
Yeah.
earth. You'll be given a new body.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're
Why would you even need a body, for one thing? But
well,
it
you
says that in
wouldn't.
the Bible, we'll be given a new body.
Well, yeah, because why would you not need a new body?
Right, because the old one died, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. But why would you need a new body if you're in heaven?
Maybe you go back to the age where you felt the most prime.
But again, we are talking about back to the potential that heaven has similarities to earth in the form of obstacles, right?
Right.
Then that, and also it talks about the new heaven and the new earth in the Bible. So it sounds like you said, it could be very similar. It could be a new earth. We get a new body.
Why would it be a new earth?
It says that in the Bible. There will be a new heaven and a new earth. I can't tell you the verse. I'm sure it's more familiar to you than it is to me. Does that not ring a bell?
That is, yeah, that does ring a bell. Because the new earth would be heaven.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you know we're not there right now?
You're saying we could have lived a life in the past, in a different body.
You want to know what
different
I
earth.
actually believe?
I'm curious.
I believe we've lived, maybe not specifically you or me or anybody in particular, but I believe we live hundreds, if not maybe 1,000 lifetimes as a human on Earth.
Yeah.
And I believe that the only reason we have a timer on that is because we experience our time on Earth. And after however many lifetimes, maybe some people only live 500, maybe some people live 1,200. And when we're ready to move on, we move on, and we live many more lifetimes, maybe in a physical form, maybe not in a physical form, as other beings, as other creatures, as other species, as other everything, infinitely. Because how else could we fill up the entirety of eternity? That makes sense to me. So maybe I'm on lifetime 150, maybe I'm lifetime 700 right now. Same thing with you. Who knows?
The soul is.
Yeah.
But you know what's
For
crazy?
as a human, I mean, as a human, for all we know, we've lived billions of lifetimes as other beings before this, before we were humans on Earth.
You know what's interesting though is the soul moves, but how come the memory doesn't?
I believe the memory does, but we choose to take in only what's necessary in order to have the experience in each lifetime. Like,
But
part
you don't,
of
but
the
you don't remember what you've done back.
I'm saying
in
it's
your
possible that we could, but it does not. If it does not contribute to the lifetime and the experience that we're choosing to have in this lifetime, then we would choose not to bring it in with us when we go into the next lifetime. So, say like a video game, very similar to a video game actually. Like, you start a video game, and what happens when you die? Like maybe you get a couple tries, but
It's
like when you
called
really die,
respawn.
you get game over, and then
Yeah, respawn.
well, you have respawns throughout the game, right? But if you maybe I don't play a lot of video games, so this is not probably not the best analogy, but it is the clearest one I can think of. But if you get a game over, right, you start from the beginning,
Right.
like a full on game over. That's it. You go back to the beginning, right? And when you start the game, part of starting the game is starting fresh. If you're playing, what kind of games do you play?
Man, I scatter, dude. I go to like video games, like sport games, first person shooter.
Okay.
I like some like horror games too. I'm a big horror guy.
Horror? Are there any of those horror games? Are they like role playing sort of games? Like not role playing, but like I think that's not the word. What's the
Like horror, like scary,
what's
like adventure games.
I've been like kind of like Minecraft style.
That's not horror.
No, I'm not saying that is. I'm saying you know how Minecraft
Like
you start
survival games.
survival. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Minecraft you start off with nothing,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And you got to go around. You got to collect wood. You hack down some trees with your bare hands like a man, and Bear Grylls style or
Like a
whatever.
block
And
man.
then yeah, and then you fashion tools out of that wood, and then you can use that to and
Yeah.
eventually you accumulate over however many hours of playing.
Yeah, you're
You've got
surviving.
right,
Yeah.
but you start off with nothing.
Right.
Right. Okay, so some of these games you're playing, like the horror games, probably
Yeah.
similar to that, right? You have to go around and collect things.
Not necessarily. Like there's like
I'm asking if any of them are in that fashion,
sometimes. Yeah.
for the sake of this
Some
point.
are.
Okay. Maybe like what's the one with the Fallout? You ever play Fallout?
Yeah.
Similar to that, right? You got to go around and you got to scavenge and things, right?
Right.
So the game, a big part of that game is that you are starting off with nothing,
Right.
right? Would it be as enjoyable to play the game if you started off fully loaded with everything you need?
No.
There you go. That is the reason, I believe, why we do not go into each lifetime with all of our other many, potentially infinite lifetimes before this.
Okay, because you're supposed to start from scratch.
That's part of the experience. Just like hitting the reset, starting, game over, new
That's like
game.
an experience I didn't like was school.
However, let's say you had never lived a lifetime before where you went to school. Let's say maybe all of your lifetimes before this, school was not even a concept, or maybe it was a concept, and in that lifetime that you lived, in that time that you existed, it could have been 100 years ago, a couple hundred years ago, could have been in the future where school is obsolete. Maybe all your other lifetimes you never experienced school, even though you did not, and you have this perspective in this life that you did not enjoy school. Looking at this from the perspective of like a game you've never played before, would you not want to have that experience if it's something you'd never had before?
All in all, dude, I would just like to start from literally nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
What I'm asking though is, how would you know you don't enjoy school unless you experienced it?
So you have to go through it to know if you like it or not.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And then at the end
That
of it
just
all,
totally confused me for a second. I had to sit there and think about it. I'm like, oh shit, I got to go through it to know if I like it or not.
yeah.
Right. It's like
And
a job.
even if you didn't like it, much like the many trials and tribulations and the obstacles and challenges and the things that cause grief and sorrow, experiencing loss, loved ones passing away, breakups, losing a job, anything that's difficult, anything that causes any sort of pain and suffering throughout life, all of that contributes to who you are today, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, no regrets. You're glad that you went through it all so that
Yeah.
you can enjoy, what it's all led to, the lessons you learned from it, right?
Yeah. Dude, I'm not even going to lie. That was a 40-minute topic. Almost.
Well, we could go on this topic for probably days.
Probably, but
That's all that is like,
that's a lot.
that's all leading to why, a big portion of why I am not religious anymore. It just makes, do you know who Ram Dass is?
Yeah.
I believe it was him that said this. It was either him or this other guy whose name I can't remember, but they're very similar in the way that they speak.
I think I know what you're talking about.
The dream.
Yeah.
Imagine if you could dream 1,000 or a
1,000
lifetime, and
yeah.
each time you dreamed.
I think
Yeah.
it was Ron.
And he said, like if you had the ability to control everything that happened in your dream, and every night you went to sleep, you dreamt a whole lifetime of time.
Yeah.
And if you had the ability to control everything that would happen, logically, I'm paraphrasing everything he said here, of course, but logically, you would experience all the pleasures and joys
Sure.
of life. And you said something similar to this earlier about wanting to save some things in heaven for like as a surprise.
Mhm.
Well, he says like logically, after this whole lifetime, you go through several nights, maybe several weeks of every night you'll dream total pleasure, all the joys, all the riches, all the wonderful things. But eventually, you're gonna say, "Hey, you know what? I want something new. I want a surprise. I want something unexpected. Some sort of a challenge, right?"
Right.
And you'll come out of that dream and you'll be like, "Whew, that was a close one." But you'll be exhilarated. You'll have that feeling like you just like you got away. You survived. Like yes, that thrill. That feeling cannot be achieved without risk, without surprise, without danger. You will never. That's a experience. That feeling of like I dodged a bullet, right?
Right.
Like that was a really close call. Isn't that a good feeling?
Oh, it's
Like that
great.
adrenaline rush.
No one likes anything, but adrenaline rush is like the best, dude.
But to achieve that feeling, you have to have a close call. You have to have a challenge that's really difficult. You have to work through that feeling, that true feeling of reward.
I
You
get
have
a,
to have the challenge.
I'll get an adrenaline rush even like going on a PD call for my job. I show up to the scene. These cars are all fucked up, and I'm just like, I'm gonna get in there and start towing.
And unfortunately, someone had to get in an accident for this to happen.
Yeah. Some of the cars that we see, it's sad, dude. I mean,
But point
but
being, it's
yeah,
all about the experience. Not
yeah,
to brush past and diminish the fact that something sad happened, but it's
right.
all encompassing in this whole experience that contributes to our experience in life. There's plenty of horrible, terrible things, and I know a lot of people will use this as an argument for religion as to, or even an argument against religion as to why all these terrible things in the world happen. Personally, I don't think that's necessarily a valid argument. It's not about really like good or bad or sinning or righteousness or anything like that. It's about we're just experiencing everything.
Sure.
And at the end of it all, it's all part of going into this like eternal consciousness
Mm-hmm.
that is encompassed of everyone. Like I believe you and I and everyone else, we're all the same
Right.
person, but not in the sense that we're all one human being. I believe that we are all is one and one is all. The
Sure.
atom, like the basis of what makes up everything, the atom, the smallest thing, we're all made of the atom. The couch we're sitting on, the air we're breathing, all atoms vibrating at different frequencies, atoms in different forms, taking on different appearances, still all based on the atom. And I believe that that is the atom, essentially, in the simplest form. That is God. God is all that is, everything in existence. Everything that exists, that's God. God is everything. And you could sum that up as like God is the one that has the perspective of everything at once. And we are made in his image. We are like these mirrored versions getting to experience all the different infinite perspectives of all the infinite realities within the all, the everything that exists.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
That's a good point.
Like when we,
Yeah.
some people don't take care of their belongings and such.
Yeah.
But if we had the perspective that, like, that backpack that you just toss around and you don't really care about, or like that you are one with that thing, like we might take care of our stuff more. Like, uh, I don't know. That's maybe a bit of a stretch, a little goofy one, but if we had that perspective for people, like everything that we do to someone, we're essentially doing to ourselves.
Yeah.
Like that would change a lot of people's, the way they act and treat people. Be a lot kinder,
Absolutely.
and then maybe in a sort of karmic way, like what you do will be done back to you. Like you do something terrible to someone, inevitably, maybe not in this lifetime, but you are gonna experience that same thing happening to you.
Yeah.
And maybe not even in a karmic way, like, cause and effect, you deserve this. More of just a grand, like, perspective way. Like, you had the perspective of being the person that was the perpetrator, of being the antagonist, and in another lifetime, you will have the opposite side of that perspective.
I like that.
but that could be heaven. That could be hell. That can be both at the same time. It could be whatever you want it to be, right? Because perspective is everything. The foods you enjoy, they might be the best for you. They might be the worst for someone else. The activities, the hobbies, anything you do to occupy your time, depending on your perspective, they might be great. They might be terrible. Someone else is not going to feel the same way about things as you do. But you could also be going through the exact same situation, living the exact same life as the person next to you. And you could say, I'm living the best life and truly enjoying it. And they could say, this is the worst. I'm in hell. And if they believe it, if that's really how they choose to perceive it, even though you're living the exact same life, then that's how they're going to feel about their life because that's what they believe, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to be rich to enjoy your life.
No.
And you don't have to be poor to hate your life.
This is true.
So we can just make it whatever we want it to be. Why not?
That was good. That was touching.
Do you feel touched?
But like physically or emotionally? Mentally, yes. Physically, no. I hope not. I mean, I don't know. This guy's playing footsies with me now. That's like more on the sus side than like straight.
What?
A guy playing footsies with another guy.
Oh, we're not on that topic.
But we have socks on.
Yeah, so it doesn't count.
It's fine. Yeah.
But that's why I said earlier when we were thinking about like what are we going to talk about today. Like, I think there are some topics like after having this conversation. I'm not trying to like turn you away from your religion by any means, but I do want to at least
sounds like it
bring up your awareness to perspectives that may be a little bit broader or outside of what you believe that is within the confines of your religion. Because having this perspective, you may be open to talk about other things or more excited to talk about other things that just, I don't know, make your brain hurt a little bit more.
Yeah.
Do you feel like your perspective has changed at all after this conversation?
Not entirely. Like, I don't know. I've been so close to God and He's helped me in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
And just going to church also helps me with like just kind of where my mindset needs to be. I mean, reading the Bible, just reading the Bible is a great thing. It's good morals. It really teaches you kind of like this is a good way of representing how life should be, right? Instead of sinning and evil, right? So that's kind of what humans try to look for is what's the good parts in life? Like, how do I become a better person today than I was yesterday? You know? So, but going to where you were saying, I mean, I never really thought too deep into like, you know, are you going to get sick of doing the same thing every day in heaven? Like, I don't know, maybe, but maybe I won't. I won't know until I go.
Unless you're already there.
We're already here. I don't know that though. How can I know? How can anyone know? The only person that knows is the man up there, and that's God. So I guess it's kind of like a wait and see. Or maybe we will never see God because God is everywhere.
Do you think you would live any differently in heaven?
If it's the heaven that I'm thinking of, we believe in, obviously yes, because I can have everything I want.
Why wouldn't you do that now? You can have everything you want now. Can you not?
You can, but you have to work for it.
Yeah, well, you don't think there would be any work in heaven? Wouldn't that make it more enjoyable?
You know, I believe that there would be work in heaven. You know why? Because Joseph, Jesus' stepdad, was a carpenter. And Mary was the virgin wife, right? But she didn't work. She had to raise Jesus. But
well, that's work.
It is work. Yeah, it's
raising a child.
Nurturing,
yeah,
absolutely.
Sure. Yeah.
But I mean, if you even watch like, have you even watched any of the TV shows? Or like, what's that one TV show that came out about Jesus? I
Passion of
didn't.
the Christ.
Yeah, I didn't watch it, but I've seen like previews and like they show that people work. So Jesus has plans for us, whether it's work, whether it's to live eternity in heaven if you go. I mean, I pray that no one go. I hope my worst enemy doesn't go to hell because hell is supposed to be where you're getting tortured all the time.
Yeah, but eventually it wouldn't be torture anymore.
Well,
eventually you'd start to like it. You know,
yeah,
you heard of Hellraiser, right? Have you seen the movie? Or any of the movies? It's cool. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure there's a whole bunch of them.
Yeah.
You seen some of them?
yeah.
Do you know the backstory of how the Cenobites become Cenobites?
Because it's just constantly the same thing, right? If I'm
Well,
thinking of the
sort
right
of.
thing, yeah.
Um,
Like if you're always getting tortured, you tend to not hate it anymore. But see that's
yeah, I mean, that's sort of the gist of it.
But
I
this is kinda
haven't seen all the movies myself. But,
this is going on the topic where you were saying if you keep doing something, it's going to get either boring or you're going to get immune to it. Like it's just normal.
yeah.
So people that go to hell, I wish that no one goes, by the way. But the people that do, they're getting tortured all the time, 24/7. But then they start, because Lucifer was tortured. I mean, he got his ass kicked by St. Michael. It's a pretty cool story. You should look into it. But anyways, like there will be a point where it's just like that's who you are, like demons, right? Demons are all about taking a soul from someone, evil, doing evil things. Like that's
Were we talking about Hellraiser still or in real life?
real life.
Okay.
Sorry, I know I kind of got off topic because like I'm trying to like get the point across that like hell you get tortured 24/7, but like you said, like a demon, right? It's like a habit. What do they want so bad? A soul. Why would they not? They don't have souls.
Really?
A fallen angel doesn't have a soul.
Yeah. Well.
That's a topic for another day,
Yeah,
though.
for sure. I definitely do not agree with that. But
well, maybe
own.
they have a soul, but it's not a good one.
Well, in the span of eternity, I'm sure they can change that. I'm sure there is even potential redemption for
Maybe.
them. Maybe in 100,000 years, no. Maybe in 100 trillion years, no. But again, 100 trillion years is nothing but a speck of sand, a single grain. Not even that. It's less than that. It's nothing. It's like the largest amount of time that you could potentially ever even conceptualize is still nothing, not even a mere grain of sand compared to eternity.
That's fair.
If you were to write numbers down, like in ascending order, they would never end.
No.
Say one number represents 100 trillion years. You would never run out of numbers. You could keep writing for eternity.
Kind of like any letter.
There's so many things that could happen in that span of eternity. I can't even, like, to me, the idea of heaven being a place that we go and it's only good all the time, that sounds like hell. So does hell. But also, like, just the idea of any sort of a constant for eternity sounds terrible. Like, change is
It's
what
needed.
Yeah, that is variety is the spice of life.